I, 34F, never imagined I'd be in this situation. 3 years ago, my world turned upside down when my husband Anthony, 36M, passed away unexpectedly from a heart condition we didn't know he had. We had been high school sweethearts, married for 10 years, and had two beautiful children together, Mia, 8F, and Leo, 6M. Anthony was the love of my life, my rock, and an amazing father. His death left a gaping hole in our lives that I wasn't sure how to fill. The first year after Anthony's passing was a blur of grief, paperwork, and trying to keep it together for the kids. Mia, being older, understood what had happened and retreated into herself. She would spend hours looking at old family photos and sleeping with Anthony's favorite sweater. Leo, on the other hand, was too young to fully grasp the permanence of death. He would often ask when Daddy was coming home, breaking my heart all over again each time. I threw myself into being both mom and dad, working extra hours at my job as a graphic designer to make ends meet, and spending every free moment with the kids. My parents were a huge help, often watching the kids when I had to work late or just needed a moment to breathe. But despite their support, I felt overwhelmingly alone. As time passed, we slowly started to find our new normal. I joined a grief support group, which helped me process my emotions and connect with others who understood what I was going through. Mia started seeing a child psychologist, which helped her open up about her feelings. Leo began to understand that Daddy wasn't coming back, but we made sure to keep Anthony's memory alive through stories and family traditions. About a year and a half after Anthony's death, my best friend Sarah, 33F, convinced me to start dating again. I was hesitant at first, feeling guilty at the thought of being with someone else. But Sarah pointed out that Anthony would have wanted me to be happy and that the kids deserved to see me smile again. So, with a mix of excitement and trepidation, I created an online dating profile. That's how I met Chris, 38M. He was divorced, with no kids of his own, and worked as an architect. Our first date was at a cozy coffee shop, and we ended up talking for hours. He was kind, funny, and seemed genuinely interested in my life and my kids. When I told him about Anthony, he was understanding and respectful, never pushing me to move faster than I was comfortable with. Over the next few months, Chris and I grew closer. He was patient with my occasional bouts of grief and never made me feel guilty for still loving Anthony. When it came time to introduce him to the kids, we took it slow. First, he would just drop by for a few minutes to say hello. Then, he started joining us for movie nights or trips to the park. Mia was cautious at first, but Leo took to Chris quickly, excited to have a man around to play catch with and build Lego creations. As our relationship progressed, Chris became a constant presence in our lives. He helped Mia with her math homework, taught Leo how to ride a bike, and even started coming to the kids' school events. It felt like we were becoming a family again. 6 months ago, Chris proposed. It was a simple, heartfelt moment in our backyard, with the kids present. He got down on one knee and asked not just me, but all of us if we would be his family. Mia and Leo were excited, and I felt like I had been given a second chance at happiness. We had a small wedding ceremony 2 months later, with just close family and friends. Everything seemed perfect until last week when Chris brought up the topic of adopting Mia and Leo. He said he loved them like his own and wanted to make it official. I was caught off guard and told him I needed time to think about it. The truth is, I've known for a while that Mia and Leo aren't comfortable with the idea of adoption. They told me this about 4 months ago, before Chris and I got married. Leo was worried that being adopted would mean forgetting about his dad. He asked me tearfully one night if it meant he had to call Chris dad now. Mia, being older, had stronger feelings about it. She said she didn't want to lose her connection to Anthony and was afraid that changing her last name would erase part of her identity. I reassured them that I would never force them into adoption if they weren't ready. I told them that Chris loved them and that nothing would change that, adoption or not. I thought the matter was settled, but now Chris has brought it up again. I didn't tell Chris about the kids' feelings because I didn't want him to feel rejected. I thought it would be easier to handle it myself, to protect everyone's feelings. Now I'm realizing that might have been a mistake. Yesterday, I finally told Chris that I don't think adoption is a good idea right now. He got upset and accused me of not seeing him as a real part of the family. He said we should talk to the kids together and try to change their minds. He argued that adoption would give him legal rights and make our family official in the eyes of the law. I stood my ground and told him that the kids' feelings are valid and we shouldn't try to pressure them. I explained that they're still processing the loss of their father and that forcing this issue might damage their relationship with Chris. This led to a big argument. Chris said he felt like an outsider in his own home and that he thought I would be more supportive of making our family complete. He stormed out and went to stay with his brother. Now I'm stuck in the middle. Chris is hurt and angry. The kids are picking up on the tension and getting anxious. Mia has been extra quiet, while Leo has been acting out at school. My parents think I should have told Chris about the kids' feelings earlier, but I was just trying to protect everyone's feelings. I don't know what to do. Am I wrong for supporting my kids' decision? Should I have handled this differently? How do I fix this mess without hurting anyone? I love Chris and want our marriage to work, but my kids have to come first. I feel like I'm failing everyone, my late husband, my kids, and my new husband. Any advice would be appreciated. Update 1, it's been 2 weeks since my last post, and a lot has happened. First, I want to thank everyone for their advice and support. Your comments really helped me see things more clearly and gave me the courage to face this situation head-on. After Chris came back from his brother's place, we had a long, honest conversation. I apologized for not telling him about the kids' feelings earlier and explained that I was trying to protect both him and the kids. I told him about the conversation I had with Mia and Leo 4 months ago, and how they expressed their concerns about adoption. Chris was still hurt, but he said he understood why I had kept it from him. He admitted that he had been feeling insecure about his place in our family. He shared that growing up, he had always felt like an outsider in his own family. His parents had divorced when he was young, and his dad had remarried and had 2 more kids. Chris never felt fully accepted by his stepmother or half-siblings, and I think that's part of why the adoption issue is so important to him. We agreed that we needed to talk to the kids together. It was a difficult conversation, but I'm glad we had it. We sat down with Mia and Leo in the living room, surrounded by family photos, including several of Anthony. Chris started by reassuring the kids that he loves them and that nothing would change that. Then, he gently asked them how they felt about the idea of adoption. Mia and Leo were brave enough to express their concerns directly to Chris. Mia, twisting a strand of her hair nervously, told Chris that she likes him a lot, but she's not ready to be adopted. She said she's afraid of losing her connection to her dad and doesn't want to change her last name. Leo, clutching his favorite stuffed animal that Anthony had given him, said he was worried that being adopted would mean he had to forget about his real dad. Chris was visibly upset, but he handled it well. He told the kids he understands and respects their feelings. He assured them that he's not trying to replace Anthony, but wants to be there for them in his own way. He promised Mia that she would never have to change her name if she didn't want to, and told Leo that no one could ever make him forget his dad. After the kids went to bed, Chris and I talked more. He opened up about his own childhood experiences and how they've shaped his desire for a complete family. I shared more about my relationship with Anthony and the kids' grieving process. We both realized we had a lot of unresolved issues that we needed to work through. We agreed to take adoption off the table for now. Instead, we're going to focus on building our relationships naturally, without any pressure. Chris suggested we start a new family tradition, a monthly family council where everyone can share their feelings and concerns openly. However, a new issue has come up. Chris's parents found out about the situation, and they're not happy. They've been calling and texting Chris, telling him he's being treated unfairly. They even suggested that I'm using him as a stand-in dad without giving him full parental rights. Their words have reopened the wound, and I can see Chris struggling with his feelings again. He says he understands our decision, but I can tell he's hurt by his parents' reaction. He's always sought their approval, and their disappointment is weighing heavily on him. I'm worried this might drive a wedge between us. Chris has started working late more often, and he's been quieter at home. The kids have noticed the change too. Mia asked me yesterday if Chris was mad at them, and Leo has been extra clingy with me. I want to support Chris, but I also need to protect my kids' feelings. I suggested we try couples counseling to work through these issues, but Chris is hesitant. He says he doesn't want to air our dirty laundry to a stranger. I feel like we've taken 1 step forward and 2 steps back. How do we handle his parents' interference? Should we set boundaries? Is there a way to make everyone feel secure and loved in this family without rushing into adoption? I'm trying to stay positive, but I can't help feeling overwhelmed by it all. Update 2. It's been a month since my last update, and things have taken an unexpected turn. I wish I had better news, but the situation has gotten worse. Chris's parents didn't back down. Instead, they escalated things by showing up at our house unannounced on a Saturday afternoon. I was in the backyard with the kids, helping them set up a lemonade stand, when I heard raised voices from the front of the house. I found Chris arguing with his parents on our front porch. His mother, Karen, 65F, was insisting that they had a right to speak to the kids about the adoption issue. His father, Robert, 67M, was berating Chris for letting himself be pushed around. I stepped in and firmly told them it wasn't their place to interfere. This led to a heated argument, with Karen accusing me of manipulating the situation and Robert suggesting that Chris should reconsider the marriage if he's not given full rights as a father. Unfortunately, Mia had followed me and overheard part of the conversation. She was upset and confused, asking me if we were going to force her to be adopted. It broke my heart to see her so distressed. I reassured her that nothing would happen without her consent, but the damage was done. She ran back to her room in tears. Chris was present during this confrontation but remained mostly silent. His lack of support in that moment was deeply disappointing. Later, when I confronted him about it, he said he felt torn between his parents and us. He admitted that he still craves their approval and finds it hard to stand up to them. This incident created a rift between Chris and me. He started spending more time away from home, saying he needed space to think. The kids noticed his absence and started asking questions I didn't know how to answer. A few days ago, I found out from a mutual friend that Chris has been confiding in a female coworker, Sarah, 32F, about our problems. While I don't believe anything inappropriate happened, it hurt that he couldn't talk to me. When I confronted him about it, he got defensive and accused me of not understanding his need for someone to talk to. The kids have picked up on the tension. Leo has become clingy, often crawling into my bed at night because he's having nightmares. Mia has grown distant from Chris, barely speaking to him when he's home. The family dynamic we had built is crumbling, and I feel powerless to stop it. Last week, Chris suggested we try couples counseling. While I agree we need help, I'm worried it might be too late. The trust between us has been severely damaged. I can't help but wonder if we rushed into this marriage without fully addressing our individual issues and the complexities of blending families. I'm starting to question if I made a mistake. Maybe we should have waited longer, given the kids more time to adjust before getting married. Now I'm faced with the possibility that this relationship might not work out, and I'm terrified of putting my kids through another loss. I know I need to make a decision soon, for everyone's sake. But I'm torn between fighting for this marriage and protecting my children's emotional well-being. How do I know if this relationship is worth saving? Am I being selfish if I choose to end it? The thought of starting over again is daunting, but I can't shake the feeling that something fundamental is broken in our relationship. Update 3. It's been 2 months since my last update, and I've made some difficult decisions. After much soul-searching and several attempts at counseling, Chris and I have decided to separate. We tried couples counseling for a few weeks, but it quickly became apparent that our issues ran deeper than we realized. The counselor helped us see that we had different expectations and values when it came to family dynamics. Chris couldn't let go of the adoption issue, and I couldn't compromise on my children's emotional well-being. The breaking point came during a particularly intense therapy session. Chris admitted that he felt like he would never be able to fully bond with the kids without legal adoption. He said he felt like an outsider in our family and didn't think he could be happy without full parental rights. I realized then that our values and priorities were fundamentally different. Telling the kids was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. We sat them down together and explained that Chris would be moving out. Mia seemed relieved in a way, which made me realize how much stress this situation had put on her. She asked if this meant she didn't have to worry about being adopted anymore. Leo was confused and upset, but I promised him that Chris still cares about him, even if they won't be living together. Chris moved out last week. We're trying to keep things amicable for the kids' sake, but it's been challenging. His parents have been spreading rumors in our social circle, painting me as the villain who broke up their son's family. It's hurtful, but I'm trying to take the high road for my children's sake. The kids and I are adjusting to our new reality. It's strange being on our own again, but there's also a sense of relief. Mia has started opening up more, telling me she felt guilty for not wanting to be adopted and that she was afraid of disappointing Chris. Leo is still struggling with the changes, but he's been talking more about Anthony lately, sharing memories and asking questions about him. As for me, I'm focusing on healing and rebuilding. The kids and I are in family therapy to work through our feelings about these changes. I'm also taking time for self-reflection, determined not to repeat the same mistakes in the future. I've realized that I need to work on my own issues before I can be ready for a serious relationship again. Looking back, I can see where things went wrong. I rushed into a relationship without fully processing my grief over Anthony's death. I thought I was ready to move on, but I hadn't given myself or the kids enough time to heal. I also failed to communicate openly with Chris from the beginning about the complexities of our situation. For now, I'm focusing on my kids and myself. We're rediscovering old family traditions and creating new ones. Last weekend, we planted a tree in the backyard in Anthony's memory. It was a bittersweet moment, but it felt like a step towards healing. I don't know what the future holds, but I'm committed to putting my children first and making sure they feel secure and loved. This experience has taught me the importance of open communication, taking things slow, and really understanding everyone's needs and feelings before making major life decisions. To those who might be in similar situations, I urge you to take your time. Don't rush into major decisions, especially when children are involved. Communicate openly and honestly with your partner, and always prioritize the emotional health of your kids. Blending families is complex, and it's okay if it doesn't work out despite your best efforts. Thank you all for your support throughout this difficult journey. While this isn't the outcome I had hoped for, I believe it's the right decision for my family in the long run. We're taking it one day at a time, focusing on healing and moving forward together.